What's going on, SC430 community? Today's video, we're going to be doing another SC430 mods.com mod through Calvin. So this mod is going to be typically for the 5-speed automatic SC430, so that's the first generation, so from 2002 to 2005. This mod is basically just to make the instrument cluster a little bit brighter, because on the newer SC430s, right, the second generation, it's a little bit brighter compared to the older ones, if you're not aware. So let me show you what I mean by that. So this is my dash right now, as the camera's focusing a little bit, but you can see this is what it looks like right now. So the light's on. You can tell the brightness is not very good. So on a very bright day like it is in Arizona, it's going to be very difficult to see the dash in general. So especially when you have sunglasses in. Let's see if I can simulate with sunglasses on. But I don't know about you, but with the sunglasses on and you're driving and the glare, you just can't see anything. So this could be a safety issue, just because you don't know how fast you're going, you don't know if an engine light's popping up, you don't know if your car is going to overheat or not, you don't have enough gas, things like that. So it can be an issue, because right now I have the heads-up display mod, so that's one of Calvin's mods as well. I absolutely love this mod, because in case I'm not paying attention to the dash, or I'm not paying attention to this will basically alert me if anything's going on. So dead battery, overheating. This mod has saved this car, because I had overheating issues. One day, wasn't paying attention, I was in the high 200 degree percentile, like I was in like 220, almost 250 degrees for the engine, and then this thing was beeping at me and I was like, what is going on? And then I looked at the temperature and went, oh my goodness, this car's about to explode. So definitely get yourself one of those. If you don't have one, obviously this is what you're going to be working with. This is, you can't even see anything right now because it's focused with the camera's focused to the lighting. So we're going to show you how to basically upgrade this. Alright, so now I'm going to show you basically how the process works to getting this cluster. So as you can see, I'm on the SC430mods.com website. I apologize if it's not focusing, but this is where all of the products that Calvin has. So we're going to go find the cluster. So here's the cluster. So remember, it's for the 5-speed automatic SC430s only, so that's 2002 to 2005. And open this up, so that this basically, like I said, kind of brightens the screen, because obviously ours is orange, so not very easy to see, but you can also change the color of it if you wish. It's going to be 170, so there's a bunch of stuff on here, but basically, so we scroll down a little bit, it's going to show you the information. So basically, how this is done is when you purchase this, you have the option of getting a donor cluster. So basically, if this SC430 is your daily, obviously you don't want to drive with no cluster, right? So you have the option of getting a donor one from Calvin to use as a temporary thing. So when you do that and you choose to get a donor one, you want to make sure, as you can see here, mileage is corrected to your current reading. So you have to email or send a picture to Calvin of the mileage, so you can keep your mileage current. And when you get this donor cluster from Calvin, it'll come with a return label, so you can send his cluster back once you get your cluster, your original cluster, back with the upgrade. So keep in mind that it's $170 for this, and when you send the cluster to Calvin, that's going to be straight out of pocket. So it's going to be probably a little bit more than $170, right? Because you're going to have to get a box, bubble wrap, package it up, and things like that. So you're going to have to spend a little bit more than $170 to ship it to Calvin. But again, if you choose to get the donor one, he will provide that to you at no additional cost, and it'll come with a label to return it back once you get your cluster back. So now with that being said, let's get on to showing you how to remove the cluster. Alright, so to take the cluster out, what we want to do is insert the key just so the steering wheel is out of the way. Bring it down to the lowest setting and as far as possible. Mine's already all the way out. So then we want to take the bezel off. So basically you can kind of just pull on it on each side and it'll just pop right out, and then there'll be a cord to disconnect this. So if you've never taken the cluster out, it might be a little bit difficult, but I have taken it out before, so I think it should come out pretty easily if I can do it with one hand. Yep, so it comes right out. Yep. Then you want to pull out the way, and then you can see there's a cord right there. You're going to want to disconnect that. Let's see, disconnected. You can move that to the side. And then we have 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take those out, and then there'll be a cord around the top somewhere to unplug. Make sure before you unplug it, we record down the mileage. I also recommend that once you do ship your cluster, to print your order receipt of this once you get the receipt after you order it online through sc430mods.com. Print out the receipt that's emailed to you, write the mileage on there, and then put it in the box that you ship it with this, just to make it a little bit easier on Calvin, and make it easier for yourself, right, that you know what mileage you're supposed to be reading on the cluster. And so he knows that you did already pay for it and shipped and he was only just waiting to get the unit. So now that I took the 4 screws out, you can just easily pull. It should come out really easily. And then, like I said before, there's going to be a cable at the very top where my index finger is right here. Just unplug that. Then you should be able to pull it out nice and easily. So, since I forgot to get the mileage, I should probably do that. So you can just turn the key into second. So now I'm reading 138,012 miles. So now we know exactly. So we can write that down on the order, or even take a picture and print it out with it with proof. So now we got the cluster. So this is all we're going to need. So when we ship it, we want to make sure, obviously, since we don't want to potentially damage the unit, we want to wrap it up, right, with bubble wrap, and then making sure we wrap up the mounts very, very well, because we don't want those to break. So just keep an eye on that. So then now we're ready to basically ship this, and then your dash is going to look like this. Mine has the navigation unit because I currently have a prototype part in there, so that's why there's an ESD bag in here, so ignore that. Other than that, let's wrap this up and see what it looks like before we ship it out. So as you can see, I'm going to package up this out. Very quickly bubble wrapped up. Might be a little bit difficult to see on camera, but all the mounts, I put a little bit of extra in there, a little bit of cushioning, so in case it does move around, it doesn't break. And I got paper here to hold it in place. And then this is the time where you would insert your order number and then the mileage. So this is where you have an options that in the meantime, while you have this cluster shipped out, which I also should mention is going to be out of your pocket. So sending your original one will be out of your pocket to ship to Calvin. And then in the meantime, let's say you drive the SC430 a lot on a daily basis and you don't want to drive without a cluster because you don't know how fast you're going, Calvin will send you a donor cluster to use as a temporary thing until you can get your original back. And then once you get your original cluster back, the donor cluster you can ship back out to him, and that will have a free label. So this part for me, since I'm shipping out my cluster out to him, it's going to be out of my pocket. So just keep that in mind. For paying for the cluster upgrade, you do have to pay for the shipping to send this one out. So I'm going to package this up and send it out. We have received the cluster back from Calvin. Obviously there's not going to be really much different, but if you want to know what actually happens to the cluster, basically Calvin takes the front cover piece off to get to back here, and then in the motherboard he'll go take the old bulbs out off the board and then puts in the LED or whatever color you choose. So I'm going to show you how to put this boy back in. Obviously we're going to have to put the key in right to bring the steering wheel back down, all the way down and out, and then we're going to plug this thing back in. So remember, if you have the motherboard back there from the nav unit, make sure you move it around so you can have enough space to put the cluster back in and line it up at the holes. So obviously we're going to start by plugging it back in. Should be only one cord. Then we'll line it up at the holes. Make sure we move the nav unit that's back there. Right, then we're going to put the screws back in. Remember the 4 Phillips heads. Remember when you tighten this in, it is, the cluster itself is plastic. So you want to make sure it's tight, right? But you don't want to over tighten it, otherwise it will break the frame that holds the cluster in place. So you want to be careful. And then obviously you don't want to unintentionally strip the screw as well. Alright, so as you can see, screw in here, screw there, at the top, one here and one there. So now to put the bezel back in, keep note of the anchor points. So we've got one here, and then one up here, and then one up here. It'll pop in nice and easy, and then obviously the cord. So those anchor points on here, we got an anchor point here, one up here, and one up here, and then the cord. So let's plug that in. Line up the holes, and this should pop in right nice and easy. Like that. Super nice. Apologize the glare. So I can readjust the steering wheel here. And then we're going to see what it looks like starting up the car. I haven't driven this car in a while, so we'll see if it even starts, or if it struggles to start. Look at that. Look how nice and bright that is compared to last time. Super, super nice and clean. Got ECT power on by accident. Let me shut that off. But huge difference, right, compared to the orange lights. It almost looks like it's the second generation SC430, where it's actually nice and bright. So now, even during the day, I can see what's going on the dash. Huge difference. So let's see with the sunglasses if it makes it any different on the camera. Look at that. Even with the sunglasses on, you can still see it. That's so nice. Way better than the orange lights. So I totally 100% recommend this. This is a huge game changer here. So now I don't have to rely on the heads-up display for everything, right? So now I can have the heads-up display for one thing, and then all this stuff is nice and bright and clean. But yeah, super simple mod to do. Definitely recommend you getting one of these guys. So, but other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.